All right, Steve. So thank you so much for being here on the All Bets Are Off podcast. We've been working on it for a while and it finally happened. Today's the day.
Oh, thanks for having me, Robbie, and cheers to everybody out there in rock and roll interweb world.
So today we're going to do things a little bit backwards from what I normally do because today's a big day. At the time of this recording, the new Ace Frehley record just came out, 10,000 volts. And from what I understand, there it is. From what I understand, you are not only the producer, but the co-writer on this album, correct?
That's for sure. Co-writer. I played a lot of bass. I played a lot of second guitar, keyboards, backing vocals, percussion. Kind of doing my thing as I do as a producer, and I'm sort of like the new Mutt Lang on steroids, if you will. To where I'm playing, engineering, produce. It's a lot of things going on, but just a magical time. And like I said to you before, this is the sort of the end of a year and a half journey to get to this place. From when Ace and I started recording and writing this record to finally today is the release day. So blessed beyond belief.
That's pretty amazing. And did you have like a relationship with Ace prior to this, or was this just like a thing that kind of fell into your lap? How did that all happen?
Well, yeah, I've known Ace for the better part of 30 plus years. I met
Mhm.
Ace back in the day when Trixter was on top with Eddie Trunk at a Kiss convention, and PJ and I hung out in his hotel room after, and it was incredible. Luckily, man, I've been blessed over the last, couple decades to have relationships and toured with, Gene and Paul with Kiss, and Bruce Kulick, Eric Singer, Vinnie Vincent, all the Kiss members, Peter Criss. And for the 8-year-old kid who in 1978, Kiss and Van Halen are the two bands that got me playing guitar and playing music. So, to have these kind of relationships over the years has just been incredible. But what had happened was, I'm going to say probably 2022, Tokyo Motor Fist, my other band. We did some shows opening up for Ace. And Ace's fiance Lara is another Jersey girl. She's a friend of ours for a long time. We grew up together, and she was kind of saying, Steve, you and Ace really should get together. I think you guys would be able to write some great songs. And it stuck in my head, so I came up with some ideas that I thought would be perfect for Ace. Like I've told people before, being such a huge Kiss fan and a huge Ace Frehley fan, I think I know what sort of musical ideas and song ideas would be perfect for him. And that's what I did. And I sent him over like 3 or 4 ideas. And a couple months later, lo and behold, he finally called and he said, Steve, I love these. I love these ideas. I love this one especially. And that was one of the, main songs on the record, Walking on the Moon, the second single.
Mhm.
And, that started, I'm going to say that was probably September of last year that we started working on that. And that was the beginning of it. And right after that first day, we were off to the races.
That's pretty incredible. And I got to say, I've been listening to the album all morning, and probably by far my personal favorite things that I've ever heard from an Ace Frehley record. So props to you for that. And
Thank you, man.
these songs are just incredible, and it's just like a banger from start to finish. I don't skip a track. I already ran through the whole thing 3 times without skipping over anything.
That was a conscious decision. And look, man, I've made no sort of secret of saying, and I said this to Ace. I said, listen, man, the records you've made over the past 30 years, I mean, basically since the solo record, there are moments of brilliance on it, 2 or 3 really strong songs. And then there's a lot of filler. There's a
Mm.
lot of throwaway songs. And Ace and I, after the first day that we worked on Walking on the Moon, it was kind of, we knew there was something special in our chemistry. But he said to me, and I totally agreed. He said, first and foremost, he goes, Steve, I want every song to be great. And I said, well, you came to the right place, because I won't let anything I work on, Robbie, whether it's Trixter, Tokyo Motor Fist, any band that I work on, anything that I'm doing in my studio that my name is going to be on it, chances are it's going to be phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that, it's because I work so hard and I want the best for everybody. And that was from day one. That was one of Ace and I, our mantra was that we want to make sure that every song is great. And I can honestly say, not every song is a hit song, if you know what I mean, but
Mhm.
every song is top quality, top production, even the instrumental stratosphere. And that was a little bit of a battle because, man, I brought this idea into Ace, and he was very sort of wishy-washy on it until I finally sat him down and said, man, you need to listen to this. This is great, and you
Mhm.
can add to it. And he immediately, on Stratosphere, he came up with the idea of doing the sort of the rock bottom triple tracking of the intro arpeggio. And
Yes.
as soon as he was able to put his stamp on that, that's when it really took shape. And that was it. And again, Ace was working with other writers all along, and the material wasn't that good, and thank God he used Lara and Lara's daughter, her friends, and like a pool of different people he would send tracks out to, and he would send it out to people in his camp. And they were all just coming back, Ace, these songs you're doing with Steve are the best things you've done, since your 78 solo record. So it's really, and again, my love for him and for the Kiss fan base, I did this for all of us. You know what I mean? As Kiss
Yeah.
fans, I wanted all of us to be able to have a record because let's be honest here. Even the Kiss releases over the last 20 years, there are moments of really, like I said, moments of brilliance
Mhm.
surrounded by a lot of mediocrity.
Yes.
So, and I've made no secret in saying this record is the best Kiss related release since Kiss Revenge. It's the most consistent from start to finish since Kiss's Revenge. So, all the Kiss fans, I hope you agree with me. And if you don't, tough shit.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I was writing down as you were talking. I didn't want to forget to bring that up to you. I didn't know that you've been saying that, but when I listened to this record, that's where my mind went. Like, I'm a huge Kiss fan, lifelong Kiss fan.
Yeah.
And when I listened to 10,000 Volts, my first thought was, I haven't enjoyed an entire Kiss related record from start to finish since Revenge.
Yeah.
And I really think that you nailed it. And going back to what you said about, yourself being a lifelong Kiss fan, Trixter got to tour with Kiss a little bit in 1992, so that had to
Yeah.
be a huge, like, "Oh my god," almost was that like a "we made it" moment for you?
It certainly was, man. And, I remember like yesterday, and again, I met the first Kiss member I met was Paul Stanley back at backstage Bon Jovi, 1987 at the Meadowlands Arena,
Mhm.
at the height of Bon Jovi mania. John was the first big supporter of Trixter. So we were always backstage with the Bon Jovi guys during the Slippery Madness and everything since. But long story short, yeah, I mean, to finally get to tour with those guys, that was the crowning moment for us. And besides meeting and becoming friends with Ed Van Halen, for me, that was the moment where I said, okay, if it all ends tomorrow, at least we toured with Kiss. We sold 1 million records, we did everything we set out to do, and we're playing the Meadowlands Arena, our hometown arena in New Jersey, with Kiss. So it doesn't get much better than that. And I vividly remember the day we got the call that we were going to do it. Our agent at CAA, Mitch Rose, who is still Kiss's agent up until the end. But long story short, PJ and I were in our hotel in LA. We were finishing up the Here record, and I remember my manager calling, and I said, "All right, wait." You got to say it again. I got to get PJ. I got to get this on video. And I gave the phone to PJ, and I had my camera going, and I filmed it. I said, "All right, tell him." And PJ just goes, "I can't believe it. We're going out on tour with Kiss. We got the Kiss. We got the Kiss tour," I think were the exact words. So, man, look, my life has been such a rock and roll fantasy, and the glory days are never ending. And this is just another one of those incredible moments. And this is the beginning. Like I talked to Ace before, I said, welcome to a new chapter in your career. At 72 years old, Ace is making the best music of his career. And
Yeah.
I couldn't be more happy to be his partner in making all this happen.
So when you were on tour with Kiss at original time in, '92, Was that you mentioned playing your hometown arena? Was that the show where you were presented with your gold record for the self-titled Trixter album, or did that happen before the Kiss tour?
No, that was the year before that we played when we opened for the Scorpions. So yeah,
Okay.
it was, we got to play, you know, in 1991 and 1992, we got to play the Meadowlands Arena. And, you know, for all the fans out there or people who don't know much about my history with Trixter, that was always our goal from day one. It was never about being on MTV, selling a million records. It was always all we ever wanted to do since we were little kids. And I think a lot of bands would say this. All the LA bands would say to play the LA Forum, you know,
Mhm.
to play your hometown arena. So that
Yes.
was always our main goal, above and beyond everything. And I did a cool, during the pandemic, I did a cool little YouTube documentary about that whole experience, you know, called The Dream Come True. And
Mm.
that's really the God's honest truth. And so to get to do that, you know, we got our gold records in 1991 with the Scorpions the same way. And we were there, you know, back in 1985 when Bon Jovi got their gold records presented to them when they were opening up for Rat on the
Oh
Invasion
yeah.
of Privacy tour. So it was extra special. And, so, you know, that night at the Meadowlands in 91, you know, a bunch of the Bon Jovi guys, Tico, Dave Bryan, and Alec John Such were there. God rest his soul. And you know, John called us and you know congratulated us. So it, you know, again, all of these things never get lost on me, and
Mhm.
they're just the greatest memories of my life.
You know, it's so funny too that you say, you know, the goal was to play the arena and it wasn't like the MTV and all that stuff, but you actually did have a couple of videos that went to #1 on MTV.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, listen, man, we adapted really quick to learning about what's cool and, you know, having great tour buses and hotel rooms and parties and the girls and everything that we were blessed with. I mean, because we lived it all and we lived it big. And,
Mhm.
you know, we had you know, a blessed, you know, I would say 4 years of, you know, arena rock glory where we were doing, you know, our first tour in 1990 and 91. It was
Mhm.
only supposed to be 2.5 weeks, and that 2.5 weeks turned into 13 months. You know, and playing in front of 1.5 million people, and that trend, you know, and that went over to 1992. And sadly, the grunge era took over, but we
Mhm.
were so fortunate to ride a little part of that 80s hard rock wave and be a part of it. And, you know, we were the last band to really break through. You know, it was us and Firehouse were the two last bands, you
Yeah.
know, who you know, ended the genre. So, you
Yeah.
know, I'm just glad that where Trixter is certainly a part of going to be in the history books for the rest of eternity as being one of those influential bands. And we all know the story about Trixter with the flannel shirts. We were the band who brought flannel to rock and roll. And
Yeah.
that went over to the grunge era. Everybody, all those motherfucking bands stole our look.
I mean, 100%, and I've always said that, and I wanna talk about that tour really quickly. I mean, I've had PJ on the show, so we talked
Mm-hmm.
about it as well, but that was the Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour with,
Oh,
Warrant and Firehouse, and
yeah,
that is universally touted by hair metal enthusiasts like myself as the last big tour of that era of music,
it
and I
was.
say I wanna stress, though, that that music has made a huge comeback since then, but for that initial run, that was the last big tour, and it was just massive,
It
and
was.
at the time, you guys were exploding, like, Metal Edge did a whole magazine just on you guys.
Yeah,
You had the Trixter Color Spectacular,
you know it.
and you guys were just killing it, like, I can't even imagine how you felt, like, just can you recall, like, just on that tour, like, some of your favorite memories and how you were feeling about your career at that point?
Dude, it was just, it was the best. It was the greatest times of our life, you know, and I say this with all honesty. Every dream I ever had as a musician, as a little kid wanting to be a rock star, came true 100 times over. And you know, the Warrant Firehouse tour was especially sweet because no one could predict how successful that tour was going to be, and also knowing that it was going to be the last successful hard rock tour ever of
Yeah.
that genre and of that 80s time period that carried over into the 90s. That was it. That was the last tour that anybody had any real success. Def Leppard, Def Leppard, Adrenalize, they came out in 92, and they did have a hugely successful tour, but they
Yeah.
were an iconic band. But the Warrant Firehouse tour, Trixter, Warrant Firehouse, Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour was totally unexpected. And it wound up being one of the top 10 grossing tours of 1991. And we had such a great time because we were so close in age with those guys, and
Mhm.
we all became like family on that tour. When we were out on tour with the Scorpions, those guys were 20 years older than us
Yep.
already. They had done it all for decades before we went on tour with them, and they were so great to us, but we didn't get to hang out with them like we did with the Warrant guys or like the Firehouse guys. We were brothers, and still to this day, we still pretty much are. When all of us get together and we do shows, once in a while, and I swear to God, it is like time stands still. We get together and we laugh and we have fun, and it's kind of like, man, I always look over at those guys and go, man, it feels like 1991 all over again.
I love hearing that, and I do
True.
wanna point out your self-titled, record did peak at number 28 on the Billboard's 100, and that's a
Certainly did.
huge, that's a huge, like, debut for any band,
Yeah.
and, then you get this tour, and, I wanna fast forward now to, X amount of years later. In 1999, VH1 did a special on Trixter of, "Where Are They Now?" kinda thing.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, you guys ranked at number 29 in the top 40 hair bands of all time. So, like,
Yeah.
you guys were still getting good press years later, and then Trixter does end up making a comeback. So, when did you decide, like, "Okay, it's time for us to start doing this again?" Because we all know that that genre of music and that era did make a giant comeback, but not every band came back with it, but you guys did.
Yeah, it was always a question of when we were going to do it. It was never
Okay.
an if. And, we knew there would be a time. And, 2006, honestly, is when I started really getting the itch and I started getting a feeling that something was happening. And then in 2007, there was that the first Rocklahoma Festival. And
Yeah.
that was the one that we all saw. I remember calling Pete and PJ and just going, man, this is really undeniable at this point. It's now or never. And we hit it right, and everything worked out, and we had another great 9-year run of Trixter, that sadly got marred by stupidity by other band members, and
Mhm.
it ended that version of the band forever. But again, Robby, the amount of time to even be here still talking about it 34, almost 34 years later since our first album came out, and almost 40 years later, July of this year is going to be 40 years since the first Trixter show. And
Oh my god.
that's really crazy because I'm only 25 years old. How'd that
I was gonna say, I don't know if you're a original member because you're so young, but, you know
Thank God for hair dye.
Yeah. Well, so I wanna bring up, I initially first met you personally in, this past September in Rocktember, Minnesota,
Mhm.
and you're playing with Eric Martin, and it's
Yeah.
Eric Martin slash Trixter. So how did that whole thing come about?
Well, Eric, again, and I just told this story 2 weeks ago. Trixter, with PJ and myself, we opened for Mr. Big up in Rome, New York at the Capitol Theater. And I told the story, and I tell it a lot, that, Eric, lean into it, Mr. Big. We were always Trixter guys. We were always Mr. Big fans. I
Okay.
love Billy. I love Paul, Eric, Pat. We love that band from day one. And the Lean Into It record, when that came out in 1991, we were on tour. We listened to that record every day and night. It was the only CD that played in our tour bus, before our shows, after the shows. We were just in love with Mr. Big beyond belief. And then on the Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour, Eric came out to see us when we played out in Northern California over the summer of 1991, and we became fast brothers. You know what it's like, man, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've known you all my life. We laugh at the same jokes, and this is a friendship that has endured and continued on for 30 plus years. And
Yeah.
then in 2017, Eric called PJ and I up and said, "Hey man, I got a tour for Japan and I want to do something different and I want to have you guys play with me." And we did it. And of course, it was, like riding a bike and being there with our brother, because Eric is like, he's definitely like our older brother, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we laugh at the same jokes and we have nothing but a good time all of the time together. And it's just something that has evolved over the years. Look, it's no secret that, being in a rock band with your original members is not the easiest thing in the world. It's like being married, and it's not a bed of roses every night. So these bands, it's hard to stay together, but look, there's no reason why you can't play the music. So when Eric is not playing with Mr. Big, and Mr. Big was on hiatus for a long time, he was like, "Fuck it, I want to go out and play music." And we're like, "Yeah," and we want to play the Trixter stuff. So it was perfect. We do with Eric Martin and Trixter. We do with Joey Casada on drums, PJ Farley, myself, and Eric. We do Mr. Big hits, mostly the songs that Eric wrote, and we do the Trixter hits that I wrote. And I sing the Trixter songs, and Eric sings, the Mr. Big songs. PJ sings a couple of the Trixter ones, and it's just been fantastic. We have so much fun. You saw it. You see the
Yep.
crowd reaction. Everybody loves it, and I think we will probably continue it on forever.
I mean, it was a ton of fun, and you guys sound absolutely incredible together. And you kind of just segued into my next question, which is why Joey? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Always, why Joey? Joey's he's our little he's our charity case. You know what I mean? We feel it's our duty to to keep him in, and we honestly feel sorry for him. So no, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Joey is our bro. He's the brunt of the jokes, and we love Italians. We love Italians, but he's our meatball and our gabagool, if you will.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I got a soft spot for Joey Licious, but don't tell him.
Yeah, we all do.
So, I want to talk about another one of your projects that actually you made me aware of a couple of months ago is Wizards of Winter.
Yes.
So, let's just plug some of that right now because this is actually something I was totally unaware of until you told me.
Yeah.
So, let's get into that. So you're one of the busiest guys in rock.
I am, and I'm blessed to be that way. Yeah, Wizards of Winter is a very much inspired by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's a husband and wife, the Kelly family, Scott and Sharon Kelly, who started the band about 15 years ago in New Jersey here to do a charity event for a food pantry in Pittstown, central New Jersey. And it just evolved. And I joined the band in 2019 and sort of elevated it and took it to another level. And it's something that I've been so passionate about. I love all my band members. Greg Smith from Tokyo Motor Fist, the Guess Who, Alice Cooper, Tokyo, again, Greg, my bro, is the bass player. Fred Gorehouse, second guitar. John O'Reilly, who played with Joe Lynn Turner and Rainbow, and Richie Blackmore is on drums. He was also, it features some ex-Trans-Siberian Orchestra members. And, here we are about gearing up for our 5th tour that I've been involved with. And at the moment, I'm actually mixing a Wizards of Winter live record and a live PBS TV broadcast that we filmed on the last tour that's going to be coming out this Christmas season in 2024. So, again, it's just such a cool thing. And I love diversity, Robby. I love to do different things musically, challenge myself as a musician, as a singer, as a songwriter, engineer, producer. So again, like I said, I'm finishing the tail end of, finishing and polishing up the rough edges of the live recording and making it sound pretty phenomenal. And we have a great band, and I'm proud to say that 98% of what you're going to hear on this live Wizards of Winter live record is live, unlike a lot of the classic live records that we know all the stories where they're not really live, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I want to add to before I even get to my next question here that I always wanted to have you on the podcast, but after I met you in September and I watched you play with Eric Martin, I got just this rush of like I love seeing you on stage because you have fun, and you're one of those guys that this many years later, you're not just doing it to do it. you're not just doing it because it's what you know how to do, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're having a great time and it shows, and you make the crowd have a great time. And I was on the side of the stage having a great time because I was watching you have a great time. And I thought that was like such an awesome thing to see. And then hearing how busy you are and all the projects and everything that you're doing, to still be able to go out there and just be like, I love every bit of this is pretty incredible. So like, how do you, what advice would you give to somebody in the music industry right now to have the longevity that you have and still enjoy it?
Well, I mean, first off, you have to love it, and it's been, look, man, when I was a little kid, it hit me like 10,000 volts, no pun intended. Kiss, Rock and Roll Over, and Van Halen One, those two records, Eddie Van Halen and Ace Frehley, changed my life forever as far as that. And it's been in my blood and it's never changed. And, Robbie, whether I'm playing stadiums with Def Leppard or playing a tiny club, which I did for years, playing solo acoustic gigs. I love what I do. It's in my heart. It's in my soul. It's part of me. So I can't not do this. Just like doing interviews, I love every aspect of this business, and I have fun doing it. So I tell people all the time, they ask me for advice and I say, make music because you love it, not because you want to be famous, not because you want to be rich.
Mhm.
If you are lucky enough to be that less than 1% that has any sort of fame or be able to make a lot of money in this business, then so be it. But I look at it, and I had this conversation numerous times with Ed and Al Van Halen, about musicians, and they told me, and Ed used to tell me, and I still talk to Alex, and we talk about it all the time. Whether they made it big or not, they'd still be playing music. That's the same for me. Whether I hit it big is because I loved it so much, and I loved it so much before I became famous, that there's no other. This is like breathing for me. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
that's strong, and I have a great time. And that goes back to Van Halen. When I saw Van Halen in 1982, my second concert I ever went to,
Oh,
Kiss was
wow.
the first show in 1979, the original Kiss at Madison Square Garden. But when you
Wow.
saw Kiss back in the day, that was like seeing superheroes.
Mhm.
Seeing Van Halen, that was a different thing because that was real. And I saw them, and especially seeing the smiles on their faces, it was a different thing. It was a party. It was fun. And Eddie up there smile, you never saw a guitar player smile that much, where he's making the faces and smiling. I'm like, that's what I fucking want to be. I don't want to be one of these miserable, pouting rock stars. I want to fucking be up there having fun and smiling, getting all the girls and, and drinking and smoking and whatever the fuck they were doing. But that's the way Van Halen was. And I wanted that. And that's when I started Trixter. I said, we are going to be like a mini Van Halen. We're going to be
Mm.
fun, and we're going to be smiling. We're going to wear bright clothes, and we're going to
Yeah.
be all those things and be the party that never ends and just having fun. Those were our slogans. And that's what it was all about.
That's funny that you say you wanted to be up there having fun and you didn't like that, like, sad sack looking guy up
Yeah.
there, and then grunge comes in.
Yeah, and look, man, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll never forget, man, when Trixter started in the 86, 87, when we were really starting to get up steam, playing the Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania all ages scene. I remember this one guy coming up to me, and he was in sort of metal band, and he said, man, you smile too much. You're having too much fun up there, man. You gotta look meaner. It's fucking rocking. I go, fuck you, dude. I see, you see this line of girls? They ain't here for you, dude. They're here for me, you know?
Yeah.
And that was it, so that was the decision you make. What kind of band do you want to be in? And
Yeah.
make no mistake about it, from day one, when I put Trixter together, that was the thing. And I told all the guys in the band, I taught Pete what he's going to do, Gus, PJ, our original bass player, Doug Cowie. This is what we're doing. And it's
Mhm.
never going to change. And it hasn't changed
I
ever.
love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I know we got to wrap this up and,
Yeah.
get you out of here. So the last two things I'm going to say are there is a Trickster tour getting ready to start,
Yep.
and you're going out with Enough's Enough, and you're going out with Pretty Boy Floyd, which is really fucking cool. Great
Yes.
lineup, and I want you to kind of plug that, talk about that, and then plug all your social media and anything else that you want to promote that's coming up, and of course one more
Well,
for Ace Frehley.
we're also promoting my Steve Brown. I got my SBS guitar line that launched over the summer. That's doing phenomenal. Here's the SBS VS 200, sort of, Fender Jaguar offset style, but another dream come true. Never in a million years would I think I'd have my own successful line of cheap, affordable, awesome guitars. They're under $400, and we have one that's even under $300, and these guitars are phenomenal. But yeah, we're going Trixter. We're going out, and just so everybody knows, we're doing an electric set. We're doing the electric trio. It's not Trixter acoustic, so we're doing it. We did a show with Mr. Big 2 weeks ago, and I told PJ, I said, we are rocking tonight. I'm bringing the big pedal board, and we're going to be doing, the Trixter thing as a trio, and it went over like gangbusters. So that's what we're doing. Going to be with our brothers in Enough's Enough. Chip is, a brother. We can't wait to tour with Chip's Enough. And Pretty Boy Floyd, our old label mates from MCA Records back in the day. And we also have a fourth band that's going to be doing the whole tour with us, Band Inc., a band from Massachusetts who we've done shows with. We love Juliana and the crew. And we're taking it all over the country. I mean, I think we're going out as far as Texas on this, and there's talk about even doing another run in September and October. So
Oh,
I'm
excellent,
really
excellent.
looking forward to it. This is going to be the first real tour that Trixter's done in 25 years, as far as doing actual like 4 weeks in a row of actual touring. So I'm starting to get my voice in shape now.
Mhm.
I know my body's in shape, but everything else we got to get ready for it. But it's going to be fantastic. We kick off on the East Coast in Binghamton, New York, in the middle of May,
I'll be
and
there.
it's going to be taken off all over. So we can't wait to see everybody out there.
Yeah, that Binghamton show is about 2 hours from where I live, so I'm gonna make the trip out and see that one, so,
Great, man.
yeah. So, real quick, before we move on from the guitar, the signature guitars, where can
Mhm.
we find those?
Though you go to guitarfetish.com, it's mail order only, so you will not find these in the stores. You go to my social media, Steve Brown Rocks, Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else, Trixter on Facebook. And like I said, guitarfetish.com, and they're just incredible guitars at an unbelievable price. And
Awesome.
I've been using them for the last 8 months out on the road, used them on the Wizards Winter Tour. They are the real deal.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being here. I really appreciate your time. This was a great conversation, by the way. I
Oh, dude,
just loved it.
thanks for having me, Robby. I'll see you soon. And thank you to everybody out there. 10,000 volts Ace Frehley is out today. Everybody buy multiple copies. There's 4 different variants of the vinyl covers. So make sure you get one of each.
I love that. Alright, man. Thanks again.
See you, brother. Thanks.